Matthew. This is a response to Jesus Freak 777. His video, Does T-Rex Taste Like Chicken? Okay, this entire video is about the scientific finding that T-Rex and chickens share a common, or they share DNA. Throughout his video, he says several things. I'm not going to do this in my regular format because I really don't feel like it and I don't have the time. So I'm just going to go through here and talk about certain things that he says. First off, he begins by saying that evolutionists say that this is proof of evolution and that scientists are saying that this proves evolution, but I have not heard a single scientist say that. That's because they're not saying that. This is not something that we didn't know before because we already knew this. It's just now coming out to the public. Next, he says that this helps to demonstrate creation is possible. I don't see this at all. I don't see how showing that, for example, chimpanzees and humans share common DNA, that shows how creation is possible. That shows how we're related. That's it. Next, he says that humans are unique to the animals of the world. That's not true, because first of all, humans are animals. And second of all, we share, as he said later on, 99% of our DNA with chimpanzees and also bonobos, and we also share a lot of our DNA with orangutans. Next, he says that the 1% difference can be tremendous. It's not so much the difference, like the percentage difference, it's so much of, it's where it is. For example, if I could, let's take two theoretical species. One species, the other species. Now, species A varies 5% difference than species B, but it's in a part, like a non-coding part, or a part like that. That's 5% difference, but they would look similar. Possibly even exactly the same. Now let's look at species C that varies 1% different than species B, but it's in a major part, like a Hawk's gene or something like that. Then species C would be completely different than species B and species A, but it would not vary as much between them. Next, he says that 98% of mice genes are shared with humans, but again, it's where the difference is, not so much of the percent. Next, he says that the dissimilarity between chickens and T-Rex is profound. This may be genetically, of course, but look at the pelvis structure. The pelvis structure of T-Rexes, Tyrannosaurus Rex, I hate saying T-Rex. The pelvis structure of Tyrannosaurus Rex and chickens and basically all upright walking dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus Rex and Compsognathus, they're similar, basically exactly the same. And also look at Velociraptor and Deinonychus. They both have been found with feather imprints. And the foot structure of dinosaurs, specifically the upright walking dinosaurs, no one claims that sauropod dinosaurs led to fowl. We're saying that the upright dinosaurs, which I've completely forgot the scientific name for, led to these fowl-like creatures. Next, he says that mitochondrial DNA points to one mother. Don't try to morph this into an argument for Adam and Eve, because it isn't. It's just saying that there was one mutation that ultimately led to the creation of the Homo sapiens subspecies. Next, he says that, quote, our Heavenly Father uses common building blocks throughout all of creation, end quote. But what was he, like a little kid who only got one Lego building set for Christmas and he had to reuse it over and over again? Don't you think it would be much more grandeur if God used more than one building block or used different building blocks for each species? I mean, he's not a kid who got one Lego set for Christmas. He had infinite Lego sets. Next, you go on to gems and stuff. You say that, quote, gems have similar properties, unquote, but that's retarded. Of course they do. They're all minerals. All minerals have the same, well, not the same, but they all have crystal structures. For example, well, actually, they don't have similar properties. Each gem has different properties. For example, they all have different colors, they all vary in color, and they all have different chemical structures, they all have different crystal structures. They're all unique. Next, he says that diamonds can be made synthetically. You can make anything synthetically if you have a process and if you know how to. You can make humans synthetically if you had a process. For example, they're growing bladders right now. They're growing around little superstructures. They're growing bladders. You can synthesize anything. Next, he says that he goes on about this. He goes on to a analogy of oxygen, or not oxygen, the oxygen difference in CO2 and CO. But he says that CO is not beneficial while CO2 is beneficial. There are benefits of CO, carbon monoxide, which I forgot what they are. I'll put those in the information box. And there are also non-beneficial aspects to CO2. For example, too much CO2 can kill someone. If you have a room full of CO2 but no O2, then you're going to die. It's just as simple as that. CO2 is not purely beneficial. Besides, CO2 and CO are not building blocks. They're just chemicals. Gases, specifically. Okay, next, he says that you can change one part of chemical and change its. You can change one part of a chemical and change its entire function, and that points to evolution because it shows how chemicals can, quote, evolve. And it doesn't point to creation because God said it was good when he made it. Next, he says that God used building blocks to show his grandeur. But again, wouldn't it make God more grandeur if he used unique building blocks for each species or even each organism? That would make him like, holy crap, dude, you're amazing. For example, if you're playing horse with a skateboard, you know what horse is, right? I assume you do. You know, you go around and you try to simulate the other person's move in basketball. Now, say you're playing that with a skateboard. Skateboarder A does a trick. Skateboarder B does the same trick. Then skateboarder A does the same trick, and skateboarder B does the same trick. Now, here comes skateboarder C. He does like a McTwist bazillion or something like that. Skateboarder C would be the god if he existed. The god who showed his grandeur by being unique. Now, skateboarder A and B would be the god that you see now, if there is a god. A completely uncreative god who is the same building blocks for each creature. That was a really bad analogy, but it was the best I could do off the top of my head. Next, he says that we all came from one ultimate source. Yeah, you're right. It's called a common ancestor. And finally, he says, if you look around the world, you'll see absolute order. That is not true whatsoever. For example, I'm going to launch into chaos theory here. I have a rudimentary knowledge of it, but I'm going to try to go into it. Okay, there is chaos within this order that you see. For example, weather patterns. You can have the same exact conditions for the same exact area and have completely different weather for each time. You can have the same disease, person to person, but have completely different symptoms. There is no absolute order in the world. There's chaos hidden underneath that veil of order. Wiki chaos theory. That's a good thing to do. I like chaos theory. I've read several books on it. I don't really understand it that well. It's kind of hard to grasp, but there is no order in the world. There never will be. Another way you can look at it is look at countries. There's no order in countries. There's no order in nature. When you look outside, each tree is different. They're not all the same. If there was absolute order, they would all be the same. There's chaos in the different types, like the different veins of the leaves. There's chaos in the different blades of grass. There is no absolute order in the world. That's all he said. That's all I'm going to say since I'm going on 9.5 minutes here. Thanks for listening.